Well, hello, thanks for joining me today. My name is Jeff, and today I'm going to talk about a film that was first shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000 on December 23rd, 1989. It was the 1953 film called Robot Monster starring George Nader, Claudia Barrett, and George Barrows. And let me tell you, this was a tough one to get through. This was the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode in which Tom Crow and Gypsy all explode when Joel tells them that scientists say that bumblebees shouldn't be able to fly. Scientists don't actually say that. That's a myth. Anyway, now this is one of those so bad it's good films, and that's an expression I really hate. But anyway, I saw this film years and years ago, long before it was ever on Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I really enjoyed it, but how could you not? I mean, come on, a post-apocalyptic epic with a giant gorilla wearing a diver's helmet with antennas sticking out, who surrounds himself in soap bubbles, and has one job to kill the last 6 people on Earth, but instead falls in love with a beautiful woman that he's kidnapped, and it was shot in 3D. How could you not love that? But you know, as an adult, wow, this was a tough one to get through, and it's only 66 minutes. So anyway, for those new to the show, I'm going to talk about a film that was shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000. I'm taking them in order, but I'm talking more about the films themselves and not about Joel and the Bots. I mean, all the episodes I think are on YouTube, so you can watch them yourself if you want. Now, the man responsible for this film was Phil Tucker. Phil lived from 1927 to 1985. The only picture I found of him was from a site called Cult Film Alley. Before he made this film, he served in the Marine Corps, worked as a dishwasher, and wrote stories for science fiction magazines. Now, somehow he landed a job directing low-budget sexploitation films. Tucker said, "I did what they call the After Midnight series. Tijuana After Midnight, Hollywood After Midnight, Paris After Midnight. I directed and produced about 25 or 30 of them." It was this experience that convinced him he could make a feature film. For his masterpiece, he turned to Wyatt Ordung. Wyatt was born in Shanghai, China, and lived from 1922 to 2005. He was an actor and screenwriter. Wyatt said, "Well, Tucker wanted me to write a script for him. He didn't have a title. He said, let's call it Googie Eyes. I said, what's Googie Eyes?" Phil Tucker and I worked on a picture together, and one afternoon he came to my house with his wife and told me about this picture he wanted me to write, a comedy about a guy with big eyes. I don't write comedies and told him so, but he kept talking about it. Actually, his wife Francine was the one who kept talking about it because Phil wasn't making a whole lot of sense. She said he wanted to make a movie about the last 4 people on Earth after the bomb, and that didn't sound very funny to me. Wyatt wrote a script and gave it to Tucker, but that was the last he heard about it until after the final film was completed. As you can imagine, the final product wasn't quite what he wrote, and I'll have more on that a bit later. To star in the film, he hired George Nader to play Roy. George lived from 1921 to 2002. He was born in Pasadena, California, and earned his Bachelor degree of Arts and Theater Arts at the Occidental College. After serving in the United States Navy during World War II in the Pacific Theater, he began his acting career. He worked on stage and then moved into films, playing mostly bit parts. Robot Monster would be his first starring role. He would go on to be in films such as The Human Duplicators from '65, The Million Eyes of Sumeru from '67, and Beyond Atlantis from 1973. Claudia Barrett played Alice. She was born Emma Jean Williams and lived from 1929 to 2021. Her career began in 1949 in the classic White Heat, in which she played a cashier. Most of her work was on television. When asked why she appeared in Robot Monster, she said, "When you decide to make a movie, the decision is made for various reasons: money, fame, or working with a particular star or director. I just wanted to act. I was a professional actress for 14 years and really loved the business, and Robot Monster was a movie I enjoyed making." She also said, "This picture was low budget, and my agent at the time was not too pleased that I decided to take the part." Others in the cast were Selena Royle as Mother, John Maylong as the Professor, Gregory Moffett as Johnny, and Pamela Paulson as Carla. Now, as far as the robot monster itself, Tucker said, "Well, I originally envisioned the monster as kind of a robot. I talked to several people that I knew who had robot suits, but it was just out of the way, money-wise. I thought, okay, I know George Barrows. George's occupation was a gorilla suit man. When they needed a gorilla in a picture, they called George because he owned his own suit and got like $40 a day. I thought, I know George will work for me for nothing. I'll get a diving helmet, put it on him, and it'll work." And that's how it came to be. Shakespearean character actor John Brown was hired to do the voiceover. Now, the film was shot in 4 days for an unbelievable price of $16,000. The fact that they shot the movie entirely outdoors, so sets didn't have to be built, helped a lot with the cost. Most of it was shot in the famous Bryson Canyon, the site of numerous motion pictures and TV settings. The scenes of the family were filmed near Dodger Stadium in an area that was being renovated for low-cost housing. Some walls and dividers remained from the teardown. One stroke of luck for Tucker is Elmer Bernstein, the great film composer, offered to do the soundtrack. Now, Elmer was just starting out as a film composer, and he had been sort of blacklisted by Hollywood for his liberal views, but he also said that he liked to help independent filmmakers, low-budget filmmakers, whenever he could. So, now remarkably, this film was filmed in 3D, which added about $4,000 to the budget. But to save money, of course, a lot of stock footage was used, like scenes from 1 million BC from 1940 and Flight to Mars from 1951. So what is the robot monster? We start out by meeting Johnny and his sister Carla. The kids meet a couple of archaeologists who are working in a cave. Their mother and older sister come looking for them and take them off for a picnic. After eating, they all take a nap. Johnny wakes and returns to the cave, but suddenly everything changes. We see lizards fighting, and I guess we won't see no animals were harmed during the ending credits. And then, from a cave, a not quite robot monster named Roman appears. Roman was given the job to destroy all the human race.
The Great One is never wrong. And there are perhaps 8 people left on Earth. Not perhaps, precisely. Find and destroy them, then report back.
Wait, there are a couple of survivors and they must be dealt with. But why the bubbles, Roman? Probably because they had access to a bubble machine and they decided to use it. Anyway, when Johnny returns home, now one of the archaeologists, the one with the German accent, is his father. And the 5 of them live in the ruins of a home. Through the genius of the scientist, he has devised a way to keep their existence hidden. But on their view screen, they see Roman, and he now knows there are survivors.
Due to an error in calculation, there are still a few of you left. You escaped destruction because I did not know you existed. Now I know you are watching. I see 5 of you who have not been destroyed.
We also learn that there was a 6th member, Roy, who was Alice's boyfriend, but they had a falling out.
Seems silly after all the terrible things that have happened. To go to pieces over one miserable, egotistical, impossible guy. But all right.
They believe Roy is probably dead. Soon after, Roy returns. Wait, wasn't he one of the archaeologists? Now there's a lot of exposition. The German scientist has invented a serum that counters Roman's death ray, and that is why the 6 of them are still alive. There are also people on a space platform, and Roy has serum for everybody. There are 2 other men who are going to use a rocket to get the serum to the men on the platform. But unfortunately, Roman knows about this and plans to destroy the space station and the rocket if the rocket takes off. And even though Roy and Alice work together for 2 days, they fail to warn the rocket. And I know this looks like a toy, but it is the space platform, and you should ignore that hand. Anyway, the rocket and space platform are destroyed. All hope seems lost. Now they do their best to try to convince Roman that they are no threat, but Roman isn't having any of it. But much to the anger of Roman's boss, he deviates from the plan because he now has the hots for Alice. Hey, who wouldn't?
I will talk with the girl. It is not in the plan, but although I cannot verify it, I feel that she will understand. No!
He wants to meet her and she wants to go, but Roy says no. So Johnny sneaks out and talks way too much.
They also had this injection?
Sure, they...
You have told me all I need to know.
Alice and Roy go looking for Johnny, and Roy gives a little eye candy for the ladies. When they run into Roman, Roy feels the need to carry Alice because I guess that's faster. But maybe if she wasn't wearing high heels. And to make a long story short, they rekindle their romance, get married, have an ill-timed honeymoon, and then the little girl is killed, Alice is kidnapped.
How is it you're so strong, Roman? It seems impossible.
We Romans obtain our strength from the planet Roman.
Roy dies, the boy dies, and all hope seems lost. And then the final plan is put into effect, bringing dinosaurs back to life. Is this the end for the human race? Hey, not if it turns out to be a dream.
You're alive?
Yeah.
Her too? Boy, was that a dream or was it?
Or was it? One thing I've never liked is the "it was only a dream" endings. Boy, that really bugs me. Yeah, it worked in Wizard of Oz, but this isn't a Wizard of Oz. As for the ending, this wasn't what Ordung originally wrote. In fact, he said in an interview, "I wrote the script and didn't hear another word until I saw Phil walking down the street in Hollywood and asked him about it. You're lucky you weren't there," he told me, and I asked him if there had been any changes in my script. "No," he said, "it's just the way you wrote it." But that wasn't the truth. Strangely, Al Zimbalist, the producer, had a relative who owed him $500 and offered to forget about the $500 if he would rewrite the script, which he did. And yeah, I don't get it either. Ordung said, "I couldn't believe it when I saw the thing. And I didn't make a dime." Now, as far as the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode, they cut about 7 minutes out of it, which wasn't too bad. Now let's watch some of the highlights from that episode.
The automatic billion bubble machine, is that expensive?
No, it's not the machine that's expensive. It's paying the guy who counts the bubbles.
Hey, great! A picnic at the slag heap. Thanks, Mom. It's Gecko Roman Wrestling.
Alligator turnovers all around.
Oh, man, that Schlitz malt liquor. Boy, do I have the Zackleys.
Watch them.
They were forced to watch boring war documentaries.
Hey, my fellows never look like buildings.
I'm not watching this.
I'm bossy. You're so bossy you ought to be milked before you come home at night.
Dibs.
I'll get a stool and a pail.
That's utterly ridiculous.
Oh, how could you say that?
Are you gonna milk this for all it's worth?
Now, this is what Dr. Cornelius would look like if he was played by Raymond Burr. Hey, Roman got a CD player.
And I think there's a ham radio.
And a lunchbox.
Maybe it's a ham and cheese radio. Ham and cheese.
To counteract this antibiotic.
Hey, how'd you hear about my antibiotic?
It was an Uncle Biotic.
And all the little biotics.
Can I go over to Janie's house and borrow her dolls?
Yes, of course.
You're one sick puppy, kid.
I wanted you to have it someday anyhow, dear.
I was gonna sell it, but everybody else is dead.
Peeking through the nut hole and Grandma's wooden leg. Boy, I hate talking to that guy. I got an ulcer the size of a lapdog, and what does he do? Keep talking and talking.
When do we get to see the other 3 banana splits?
I'm gonna go push a crayon.
Oh, we're gonna have to hose those 2 off like the dogs in the yard.
What a romantic honeymoon. Is this the end of the film, Joel?
I don't think it is.
You ever had a deja vu, Joel?
Huh? What?
Is this the end of the film, Joel?
I think it is.
You ever had a deja vu, Joel?
Huh? What?
One last thing, apparently Tucker was screwed over by the producer Al Zimbalist. The two had such a falling out that Tucker wasn't permitted to see the final film and wasn't even invited to see the premiere. The only way he could see the movie was to buy his own ticket. And the movie actually made a ton of money, but Tucker never got a penny. He was so distraught that he attempted suicide. Or did he? Many today think that the suicide attempt was just a publicity stunt. In fact, the great Ed Wood, who knew Tucker, said, "When he finds out his newest bad picture won't sell, he comes up with the damnedest strategy: suicide. In one instance, he sat on the roof of a hotel with cans of film on his lap and his legs dangling over the street 15 floors below, and then he gobbles down sleeping pills. Of course, the police had been conveniently notified, so they arrived in plenty of time." Well, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And next week, I'm going to do the 1963 film called The Slime People. And that's actually a sort of fun movie. I don't know if it'll be next Sunday or not, as I'm on vacation next week. I'll be out in Vegas gambling, but if I get back in time, I'll record an episode. Otherwise, it'll be in 2 weeks. I apologize for that. But anyway, like I said, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate all the comments everybody leaves. You don't know how much that means to me, and all the thumbs up and all that stuff. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye. We'll see you later.
To think for yourself is to be like the human. Yes, to be like the human. To laugh, feel, want. Why are these things not in the plan?